All right, let's talk about CMMC Level 2. I know, it sounds complicated, and honestly, it can feel like a total maze. But our mission today is to demystify it and make it crystal clear, one piece at a time. So let's just dive right in. I want you to imagine for a second that you're building a top secret app, and this app holds the actual blueprints for a futuristic spaceship. Now, if those blueprints get into the wrong hands, game over. The whole mission is kaput. This is pretty much the exact high-stakes situation the government is trying to prevent. Now, the government has a term for this secret info, CUI, which stands for Controlled Unclassified Information. And to keep it safe, they created a rulebook called CMMC Level 2. You can think of it like getting a black belt in cybersecurity for your entire company. Yeah, it's tough, but it's also absolutely essential. So we're going to start right at page 1. We're tackling the very first, and you could argue the most important chapter in that entire rulebook, access control. Get this right, and everything else is built on a solid foundation. So what in the world is access control really? It sounds super technical, right? But the idea behind it is something you and I deal with every single day. It's just a fancy way of asking a really simple question. Who gets the keys and what are they allowed to touch? That's it. Now, for CMMC Level 2, there are 22 different rules just for this category, but they all come back to that one basic idea. You know, just think about a high school. Every student has an ID to get in the front door, but only the janitor has the keys to the boiler room, and only the principal has the admin password to see everybody's grades. See? Different people, different levels of access. It makes perfect sense. Well, in the digital world, we have a name for this. It's called the principle of least privilege, and it's so important. The idea is you only give people the absolute minimum access they need to do their job, and not an ounce more. Think about it. If you're a coder, you don't need access to the company's bank account, right? And if you're in HR, you definitely don't need the server's root password. That's like the master key to the entire kingdom. Okay, so we get the what and the why. But how do you actually pass this part of the CMMC test? Well, it all comes down to a simple 3-step battle plan. Your whole approach, not just for access control, but for all of CMMC, is going to rest on these 3 pillars. You configure it, you document it, and you prove it. If you can get these 3 things right, you are golden. First up, configure. This is the hands-on part. This is the doing. It's where you actually set up strong passwords. It's where you turn on multi-factor authentication. You know those annoying little codes that get sent to your phone? Yeah, those are lifesavers here. It also means simple things like making sure a computer automatically locks itself if nobody touches it for 15 minutes. Step 2 is document. And here's the golden rule for any kind of audit. If you didn't write it down, it never happened. You need a formal access control policy. This thing becomes your company's official law of the land. It says in black and white, this is how we do things here. And third, you gotta prove it. This is where you build your System Security Plan, or SSP. This is the big one. It's the ultimate guide to your digital fortress. It explains every server, every cloud service, and every single person who has a key. That System Security Plan, the SSP, is so important that we really need to dig into it. So what does the government actually expect to see in this master plan of yours? To keep an auditor happy, your SSP really needs 3 main things. You need a map of your system, a roster of your users, and the story of how you're doing all this security stuff. First up is the map. You have to clearly define where that secret CUI data actually lives. Is it on a server in the basement, a folder in the cloud? You literally have to draw a circle around it. This is what we call your security boundary. Second, the roster. Okay, you've drawn your circle. Now, who's allowed inside? You need a complete, always up-to-date list of every single person who has authorized access, period. And finally, there's the how, and this is crucial. For every single one of those 22 access control rules, you have to write a little paragraph that explains exactly how your company meets that rule. So if a rule says limit access to authorized users, you write something like, we do this by using unique usernames and biometrics to verify everyone. It's that level of detail that makes all the difference. Look, CMMC Level 2 sounds super intimidating. I get it. It seems like this giant mountain of paperwork. But here's the thing. At its heart, it's really just about being organized. It's about seeing your sensitive data not just as information, but as a critical asset that you need to protect. So let's wrap this up with your final cheat sheet. First, define your system boundary. Draw that map. Second, spell out the roles and responsibilities for everyone. Third,
Write that implementation narrative, the how we do it story for each rule. And finally, have your evidence ready, things like user logs and setup guides. It all comes down to knowing your data, controlling who can see it, and having the receipts to prove it. So start with your access control policy and then build your system security plan from there.
You do that, and your digital spaceship isn't just compliant, it's secure. It's ready for liftoff. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next domain.